Hello everyone again, this is Gummy speaking, and for this video I'd like to talk a little bit about endgame and what it means for our server. And I also want to talk about why there has never really been a good TBC private server before, which is primarily due to how complicated and detailed Burning Crusade is, more so than I think anyone realizes. The sheer amount of work needed to really add every detail in was tremendous. Every inch of Outlands is cram-packed with detail that's very easy to overlook until you really examine it as closely as we did. Getting everything down really required a much cleaner engine, and all of it really breathed life back into the game, making the environments feel much more alive. This also played a very important role in making sure every detail involved in balancing the endgame was as it should be. Now, with that said, a change I've noticed amongst the private server community is that people almost seem to believe that what a project does for the endgame ultimately wouldn't matter because everyone would just one-shot everything anyway. Everyone has kind of assumed that it's only natural that every boss be more or less one-shot, and they kind of believe this while also recognizing that the servers they're playing on aren't all that perfect. Probably what I miss the most from World of Warcraft is that really satisfying experience, when you kill a boss that you've been working on for ages, grinding mats, running attunements with guildmates, contributing to that guild effort to really make things happen. And you're just not getting that feeling on retail anymore, and you're certainly not getting it on any other private servers right now. So the endgame in our server is really meant to be that intense challenge that's missing. Now, many of you are thinking to yourselves, well, it's only natural that everyone would just breeze through everything since, everyone's done it so many times. But in reality, that couldn't be further from the truth. First of all, it's nearly been a decade since retail, and by the time Blizzard was done with the content, it'd been nerfed time and time again. But even still, many players believe their experience playing on private servers gives them the upper hand, when in fact the opposite is true, because the endgame content available on private servers has been watered down distortions of the real game. So at the end of the day, no one is poised to just simply clear these raids with no effort. And when we began implementing the content properly, what we found is that these encounters were incredibly challenging. And that's why I'm absolutely confident that our realm is going to humble even the most experienced player and really rekindle that drive to play and grind and progress all day, every day for months on end. And there's an array of reasons why the experience everyone has from private servers is more or less useless. A simplistic way to explain it would be to say that other projects haven't delivered the content properly. When we took a look at Mangoes, we found that it not only ignored important aspects of the game, but it was implementing ones that had incorrectly. This included the obvious things such as hit and resist formulas, what mechanics a mob should be immune to, how much attack power they have, how much damage they do, how much strength they have, how fast they attack, how often they cast their spells, who they cast them at. And this applied not just to bosses, but to trash mobs as well, and really it's an important detail for every mob in the game. Now, contrary to popular belief, the gameplay is very detailed, and any minor mistakes radically alter the balance of the game. A single, inconsistent detail completely throws an encounter off course. But fixing this went past obvious factors, and let me give an example. So part of the reason why we designed AI differently than Mangoes was also to ensure that mobs were fighting effectively and efficiently against the player. One of the first things we noticed about AI was that it didn't even look right. Take this caster for example. When it's casting, it's constantly moving closer in between casts, and it's also readying its weapon like it's set to attack. So not only does that look wrong, but this reveals two problems. One, gradually moving closer like that only helps players in a dungeon. Or at the very least, it changes what was meant to happen. But two, he isn't casting as often as he could if he was standing still and acting like a mage. So by addressing issues like these, we're not only making the leveling look and feel more proper, we're also structuring the endgame to function more properly. And the simple fact that any server using Mangoes faces problems like these is why I'm very confident that you won't find a challenging and satisfying endgame experience anywhere else. Now the second part is very important. Making something harder is easy. I've seen plenty of servers simply add more health and damage to bosses. Making the content satisfying in addition to challenging means every single aspect of the game needs to be on point. And really, that's the cornerstone of our project. We want our realm to be a definitive Warcraft experience with challenging content and exceptional detail. So the last thing I'd like to talk about for this video is why we decided on a Burning Crusade server and not a vanilla server. There are many reasons, and one of them is that unlike old Azeroth, we can study Outlands. We can study the behavior of creatures, encounters, quests, and events in Outlands, but we can't for old Azeroth. Another problem with vanilla is the endgame. Unlike Burning Crusade, the endgame in vanilla changed dramatically from patch to patch. Stats on items, talent trees, encounters, everything changed as Blizzard grew and learned as a company. By Naxxramas patch, the vanilla experience that made something like Blackwing Lair a soul-crushing challenge was completely diluted. And really, if you combine that with the overwhelming shortcomings and inaccuracies of the vanilla private servers that many of you play on, it's no wonder everything is too easy. But anyway, that's the only client we really have available to work with anymore. But compared to Burning Crusade, many of the changes to the game by the end of the expansion are well documented and easy to undo. And really, what we've been able to do is put together kind of a better Burning Crusade. Unlike the retail release, we're not suffering from setbacks and delays, so we can really deliver the game in its original image, the way it should have been all along. So, if you're hungry for good endgame content, then our project is exactly what you're looking for. But the beauty of our design is our attention to detail, and if you love the game for its exploration and sense of adventure, our realm is guaranteed to feel genuine compared to retail. So, that's all I'm going to talk about for this video. If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to ask on our forums. But anyway, thanks for watching guys, and take care.